They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 1. The stars glittered coldly against the black of space. In the command center of the massive Drexian flagship, General Vox stood with his 4 arms crossed behind his back. His skin was blue-gray and hard like armor. His yellow eyes looked out at the burning planet below. "Another world falls to the Drexian Empire," he said. His voice was deep and rumbled like distant thunder. The planet Nexus 7 had fought well, but, like all others before it, it had lost. For 200 years, the Drexians had moved across the stars, taking planet after planet. No one could stop them. Their ships were bigger and stronger than any others. Their weapons could cut through any shield. Their soldiers feared nothing. Vox turned to his second-in-command, Officer Zrel. "How many ships did we lose?" "None, General," Zrel answered. She was smaller than Vox, but just as fierce. Her eyes glowed with pride. "They managed to damage 2 of our cruisers, but nothing serious." Vox nodded. "The same story every time. They fight, they lose." He walked to the large map showing the galaxy. Many stars glowed red, showing planets the Drexians now controlled. "Soon the entire galaxy will be ours." "There is one section we haven't touched yet," Zrel said, pointing to a small area on the edge of the map. "The Sol system," Vox said. "A small star with a few planets. Nothing special." "Our scouts report the 3rd planet has life," Zrel said. "They call themselves humans," Vox laughed. "Humans? We have reports on them. They fight among themselves. Their technology is weak. Their weapons are toys compared to ours." "True," Zrel agreed. "But some reports say they are different." "Different?" Vox raised an eyebrow ridge. "Different how?" "They adapt quickly. They learn from their mistakes, and they never give up, even when they should." Vox waved a hand. "All species say that. About themselves, all of them fail in the end." He looked at the map again. "But you're right. It's time we paid these humans a visit. Send a scout ship to this Sol system. Let's see what these humans are doing." 5 light-years away, on the blue-green planet called Earth, Susan Miller walked into the underground base hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. She showed her ID to the guards and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed and the elevator dropped deep into the mountain. When the doors opened again, she stepped into a busy control room. People sat at computer screens, monitoring space. Large maps showed the positions of stars and planets and the red dots that showed where the Drexians were. "Admiral Miller," a young officer called out. "You need to see this." Susan walked over to his screen. "What is it, Paul?" "We've detected a Drexian scout ship," Paul said. "It just entered the outer part of our solar system." Susan's face grew serious. They had known this day would come. For 50 years, humans had watched the Drexians move across space, conquering everything in their path. They had stayed hidden, hoping to buy time. "How long do we have?" she asked. "At their current speed, 3 days before they reach Earth," Paul answered. Susan nodded. "Call the President and the Joint Chiefs. Code Red." She turned and walked quickly to another part of the base, going through 3 security doors until she reached a special elevator. She placed her hand on a scanner, then looked into a light that checked her eyes. "Admiral Susan Miller, Authorization Alpha 1. The elevator doors opened and she descended even deeper into the mountain. When she stepped out, she was in a massive underground hangar, and there, being worked on by hundreds of engineers and technicians, was humanity's secret, the USS Defender. For 30 years, humans had been building this ship in total secrecy. It was unlike anything ever seen before. The design came from the best minds on Earth working together with one goal: to create a ship that could fight the Drexians. The ship was huge, over a mile long. Its surface was dark gray and seemed to absorb light. Strange patterns covered its hull, technology that even most humans didn't understand. Walking toward her was a tall man with gray hair. He smiled when he saw her. "John," Susan said. "Is she ready?" John Mason was the chief engineer of the project. He wiped his hands on a cloth. "As ready as she'll ever be." We were hoping for another month of testing, but we don't have a month. Susan finished for him. The Drexians are coming. John's smile faded. How many? Just a scout ship for now, but you know what comes next. John nodded. After the scouts, always came the warships. It was how the Drexians worked. They sent scouts to check a system, then they sent their war fleet to take it. How does the crew look? Susan asked as they walked toward the ship. The best we have, John said. 500 of Earth's finest, all trained on the simulator, but none have actually flown her yet. They reached the main entrance to the ship. Susan looked up at its massive hull rising above them. Will it be enough? She asked quietly. John followed her gaze. The Defender has technology the Drexians have never seen. Energy shields stronger than anything they've faced. Weapons that can pierce their armor, and a few surprises they won't expect. But will it be enough? Susan asked again. John didn't answer for a moment. It has to be, he finally said. Because it's all we've got. Susan's phone buzzed. She checked it and turned to John. The president is calling an emergency meeting. The scout ship will be visible to public telescopes soon. We can't keep this secret much longer. What will you tell them? John asked. The truth, Susan said. That the most dangerous empire in the galaxy is coming to Earth, and that we've been preparing for this day for a long time. She looked once more at the Defender. In 2 days she would be on that ship, leading it into battle against an enemy that had never lost a war. Prepare for launch, she told John. As soon as the president gives the order, we need to move. John saluted. Yes, Admiral. As Susan walked back to the elevator, she thought about what waited out there in space. The Drexians thought they knew everything about humans. They thought Earth would be an easy target like all the others. They were wrong. The Drexians had conquered 100 worlds. But they had never met humans before. And humans didn't plan to become just another conquered planet. The Drexians were about to learn that the hard way. In space, the Drexian scout ship moved closer to Earth, its sensors scanning the blue planet. It detected cities, basic satellites, and primitive space stations. Nothing that concerned them. Nothing that could stop a Drexian fleet. What they didn't detect was the advanced base on the dark side of the moon, or the weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt, or the Defender waiting deep inside a mountain. The humans were ready, and the galaxy was about to change forever. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 2. President Richard Collins stood at the head of the long table in the underground war room. His face was grim as he looked at the people gathered there. These were the leaders of Earth's nations and military forces. All of them knew what was coming. The Drexian scout ship has entered our solar system, he said. It will reach Earth in less than 48 hours. We must decide now what to do. General Winters, head of the Global Defense Force, stood up. Mr. President, I recommend we activate the Defender immediately. Admiral Miller's team is ready. An older man with thick glasses shook his head. We should try to talk to them first. Maybe they come in peace. Susan Miller, who sat near the president, spoke up. Dr. Evans, with all respect, the Drexians have never come in peace. We've watched them for 50 years. They've destroyed or enslaved every civilization they've met. But they don't know we've been watching, Dr. Evans argued. They might treat us differently. Or they might destroy us like all the others, General Winters said. We can't take that chance. President Collins raised his hand for quiet. We've prepared for this day for half a century. Our ancestors saw the Drexian threat and began building our defenses in secret. Now we must use them. He turned to Susan. Admiral Miller, the Defender is yours. Your mission is to intercept the scout ship before it can report back to the Drexian fleet. Susan stood and saluted. Yes, sir. What about our other defenses? Asked a woman in a blue uniform. All moon bases are on high alert, Admiral Chen, President Collins answered. And the asteroid belt weapons are ready. But the Defender is our best hope. It has technology the Drexians have never seen. And if it fails? Dr. Evans asked quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that would mean. Then we fight with everything we have, President Collins said. But the Defender won't fail, not with Admiral Miller in command. 2 hours later, Susan stood in the hangar looking up at the massive ship. Crew members were boarding, carrying equipment and supplies. The ship hummed with power as its systems came online. "Admiral on deck," someone called, and everyone stood at attention. "At ease," Susan said. She walked to where John Mason was checking a control panel. "How does she look, John?" "All systems are green," he replied. "The new shield technology is stable. Weapons are charged." He lowered his voice. "But Susan, we've never actually fired the main cannon outside of simulations. We don't know for sure what will happen." "We're about to find out," she said. She looked around at the busy crew. "Is everyone aboard?" "Almost. We're just waiting. For me," said a voice behind them. They turned to see a tall man with dark skin and bright, intelligent eyes. "Sorry I'm late. I was double-checking the translations." "Dr. Ben Harris," Susan said with a smile, "our xenolinguist and Drexian expert." Ben nodded. "Such as I am. No human has ever spoken to a Drexian, but I've studied all the communications we've intercepted. I think I can talk to them." "Let's hope they want to talk back," John said. A young officer ran up to them. "Admiral, the President is on the line for you." Susan took the secure phone. "Yes, Mr. President. I understand. Yes, sir." She hung up and turned to her team. "The Drexian scout ship has changed course. It's heading directly for Earth, moving faster than we expected. We need to launch now." Alarms began to sound throughout the base. Red lights flashed as huge doors began to open in the mountain above them. "All crew to stations," Susan ordered. "Prepare for immediate launch." The inside of the Defender was a marvel of technology. The bridge was spacious, with workstations arranged in a circle around the captain's chair. Screens showed views of space and displayed information about the ship's systems. Susan sat in the captain's chair. John took the engineering station and Ben sat at communications. Other crew members took their places. "All stations report," Susan ordered. "Engineering ready. Weapons ready. Navigation ready. Communications ready. Life support ready. Shields ready." Susan nodded. "The Drexian scout ship is heading toward Earth. Our job is to intercept it before it can send a report back to its fleet. This is what we've trained for. This is what the Defender was built for." She pressed a button on her chair. "All hands, prepare for launch." Outside, the mountain's peak split open, revealing a massive launch tube. The Defender rose on powerful anti-gravity engines, hovering for a moment before shooting upward into the sky. The sound was deafening, and people for miles around looked up in wonder at the strange object rising into the clouds. In space, the Drexian scout ship detected the launch. Inside, the Drexian commander, a junior officer named Krell, watched with surprise as his sensors showed a large vessel rising from the planet's surface. "Impossible," he said. "The humans don't have this level of technology." His second-in-command checked the readings. "The ship is big, almost as big as our cruisers, but it can't be a threat. These primitives couldn't build anything that could harm us." Krell wasn't so sure. "Change course to intercept. I want to see this human ship up close before we report back." The Defender broke through Earth's atmosphere and entered space. The stars spread out before them, cold and clear without the distortion of air. "We've cleared the atmosphere," the navigation officer reported. "Setting course to intercept the Drexian scout." "Time to intercept?" Susan asked. 20 minutes at current speed," Susan nodded. "Take us to battle stations, activate stealth systems." Around the ship, special panels began to shift. The Defender seemed to fade, becoming harder to see against the blackness of space. "Stealth systems active," John reported. "They won't see us coming until we're right on top of them." Ben looked up from his console. "I'm picking up Drexian communications. They've spotted us launching, but they lost us when we activated stealth." Susan smiled. "Good. Let's keep it that way." She turned to the weapons officer. "Arm disruptors, but hold fire. I want to see what they do first." The Defender moved silently through space, its advanced engines leaving no heat trail to follow. On Earth, people gathered around televisions and computers watching the news. The secret was out now. Humans weren't alone in the universe, and they were about to face their first alien encounter. In the White House, President Collins watched a secure feed from the Defender. "Godspeed, Admiral Miller," he whispered. "The fate of our world is in your hands." The Drexian scout ship searched space, its sensors sweeping back and forth. They knew the human ship had launched, but now they couldn't find it. For the first time, a Drexian commander felt something unfamiliar: doubt. The Defender closed in, invisible and silent. The first battle between humans and Drexians was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 3. The bridge of the Defender was quiet. Every crew member watched their screens as the ship moved closer to the Drexian scout. Thanks to the stealth technology, the alien ship still hadn't spotted them. "Range to target 5,000 miles, the navigation officer reported. Susan nodded. "Hold position here, let's see what they do." On the main screen, they could see the Drexian scout ship clearly now. It was smaller than the Defender, but still impressive. Its hull was a strange blue-green metal that seemed to pulse slightly, like it was alive. "Their ship is partly organic," Ben said, studying his readings. "The Drexians grow their ships as much as build them." "Can they see us yet?" Susan asked. John checked his instruments. "No, our stealth field is holding. But if we get much closer, or power up weapons, they might detect us." Susan considered her options. The Defender's mission was to stop the scout from reporting back to the Drexian fleet. They could destroy it easily with their main weapons, but that would mean killing the aliens without even trying to communicate. "Dr. Harris," she said, "can you open a channel to them? Let's see if they'll talk." Ben nodded. "I can try, Admiral, but remember, no human has ever spoken directly to a Drexian before." "There's a first time for everything," Susan said. "Open the channel, but keep our location hidden." Ben worked at his console, sending a signal to the Drexian ship. "Channel, open." Susan took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Susan Miller of the Earthship Defender. We know who you are and why you're here. We wish to speak with you before any hostile action is taken." For a long moment, there was no response. Then the main screen flickered and they saw the inside of the Drexian ship. Standing there was Commander Krell. His blue-gray skin and forearms made him look alien, but his yellow eyes showed intelligence. "This is Commander Krell of the Drexian Empire," he said in a strange, clicking voice that the ship's computers translated. "How are you hiding from our sensors, human? And how do you know of us?" "We've been watching the Drexian Empire for 50 years, Susan replied. "We know what you've done to other worlds." Krell's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Your species is primitive. You have barely reached your own moon." "That's what we wanted you to think," Susan said. "We kept our true technology hidden while we prepared." "Prepared? For what?" Krell asked. "To defend ourselves. We've seen how the Drexians treat other civilizations. We don't intend to be conquered." Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. "One ship cannot stop the Drexian Empire. When I report back, they will send 100 warships to your world. That's why we can't let you report back," Susan said calmly. The alien's expression changed as he understood. "You plan to destroy us." "We would prefer not to," Susan said. "We're giving you a choice. You can turn around and leave our solar system. Tell your leaders that Earth is not worth the trouble." Now Krell really did laugh. "You think I would lie to protect your planet? The punishment would be severe." "Then don't go back at all," Susan suggested. "There are places in the galaxy where even the Drexians don't go. We could help you get there." For a moment, Krell seemed to consider this. Then his face hardened. "No Drexian has ever deserted their post. I will complete my mission." He turned to someone off-screen and gave an order. "They're powering up weapons," John shouted. "Raise shields," Susan ordered. "Drop stealth and bring us to attack position." The Defender shimmered into view as its stealth field dropped. The ship's shields came online, surrounding it with a faint blue glow. On the Drexian ship, Krell stared in shock. The human vessel was much larger than he had expected, and now his sensors could read its power levels. Impossible, he muttered. They shouldn't have this technology. His weapons officer looked frightened. Sir, their power readings are higher than our warships. This is no primitive vessel. Krell hesitated. He had expected an easy mission, scanning a backward planet before the invasion fleet arrived. Now he faced a ship that might be more powerful than his own. Fire warning shots, he ordered. Show them our strength. The Drexian ship fired energy beams that flashed across space toward the defender. They hit the shields and fizzled out without causing any damage. Shields holding at 100%, John reported with a smile. Their weapons can't touch us. The crew of the defender cheered. For years they had wondered if their new technology would really work against Drexian weapons. Now they knew it did. Susan reopened the communication channel. As you can see, Commander Krell, we are not as primitive as you thought. I ask again, leave our system in peace. Krell looked angry now. This changes nothing. I will report what I have found and the Empire will send more ships. He pressed buttons on his control panel. I am transmitting now. Block that transmission, Susan ordered. Ben worked quickly at his station. Blocking, but they're using a quantum channel. I can slow it down but not stop it completely. Susan made her decision. Target their communications array only. Fire. Disruptors. The weapons officer pressed a button. A beam of white light shot from the defender and hit the Drexian ship precisely where its communications equipment was located. The alien ship shuddered. Direct hit, the weapons officer reported. Their communications are down. Now target their engines, Susan ordered. Disable them, but try not to destroy the ship. More beams fired from the defender, hitting the Drexian ship's propulsion systems. The alien vessel began to drift in space, its engines dark. They're disabled, John said. They can't run and they can't call for help. Susan nodded. Good. Now, let's see if they're ready to talk. She reopened the channel to see a very different Commander Krell. The alien looked shocked and afraid. How? He demanded. How did your weapons penetrate our shields? No one has ever done that before. Earth has many surprises, Commander, Susan said. Now, we have two options. We can destroy your ship completely, or you can surrender and become our prisoner. Krell's alien face showed his struggle. No Drexian commander had ever surrendered in the Empire's long history of conquest. But no Drexian had ever faced technology like this before. He began, but was interrupted by a loud alarm on his ship. What is happening? His second-in-command looked panicked. The ship is activating its self-destruct sequence. It must have been damaged by their weapons. Susan heard this and immediately turned to her crew. Get them out of there. Activate the transfer beam. The crew rushed to obey, working to lock onto the Drexians with their experimental transport technology. As the alien ship began to break apart, beams of light connected the two vessels. The fate of the first encounter between humans and Drexians hung in the balance as space itself seemed to hold its breath. They conquered the galaxy, until a human warship made its appearance. Part 4 bright light filled the transport room of the Defender as the transfer beam activated. Energy swirled and sparked, forming shapes that slowly became solid. When the light faded, 6 Drexians stood on the platform, looking confused and frightened. Commander Krell was in front, his yellow eyes wide with shock. Transfer complete, said the transport operator. All 6 Drexians from the scout ship recovered. Susan's voice came over the speaker. Good work. Security teams escort our guests to the holding area. Armed human guards surrounded the aliens. The Drexians were taller than humans, with 4 arms and blue-gray skin that looked like armor. They seemed stunned by what had happened. What did you do? Krell demanded. How did you pull us from our ship? We saved your lives, a guard answered. Your ship was self-destructing. As if to prove this point, a flash of light appeared on the main view screen as the Drexian scout ship exploded in space. On the bridge, Susan watched the explosion with mixed feelings. They had stopped the scout from reporting back to the Drexian fleet. That was good, but they had also revealed Earth's advanced technology. The element of surprise was gone. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them we've neutralized the Drexian scout, but that we've taken prisoners. Ask for instructions." Ben nodded and sent the message. Then he turned to Susan with a serious face. "Admiral, there's something you should know. Before their ship exploded, a small portion of their transmission got through. It wasn't complete, but the Drexians now know something is happening at Earth." Susan frowned. This changed things. "How long before they send more ships to investigate?" "Based on what we know of their patrol patterns, maybe 3 days," Ben said. 4 at most. Susan stood up. "Then we need to learn everything we can from our prisoners before they arrive." She headed for the elevator. "John, you have the bridge. I'm going to speak with our guests." In the holding area, the 6 Drexians had been placed in a large room, with force fields instead of bars. They could see out but couldn't pass through the energy barrier. Commander Krell paced back and forth while the others sat quietly. When Susan arrived, Krell stopped pacing. "Are you the leader of this ship?" he asked. "I am Admiral Susan Miller, commander of the Defender," she replied. "And you are in a difficult situation, Commander Krell." "You will be the one in a difficult situation when our fleet arrives," Krell said. "They will destroy your world for this insult." Susan smiled slightly. "That's what I want to talk to you about. We know more about the Drexian Empire than you think. We've studied your language, your technology, your battle tactics. We've watched as you conquered world after world." "Then you should be afraid," Krell said. "We're not afraid," Susan replied, "because we've been preparing. The Defender isn't our only ship. It's just the first one we've revealed." This was a lie. But Susan needed the Drexians to believe Earth was stronger than it actually was. The Defender was indeed their only advanced ship, but more were being built. Krell's confidence seemed to waver. "You're lying. No species could hide such technology from our scouts." "Yet here we are," Susan said. She pressed a button, and a screen on the wall showed images of Earth's defenses, the moon base, the asteroid belt weapons, and more ships like the Defender. These images were mostly computer simulations, but they looked real. "Even if you destroy 1 ship or 10 or 100, we will fight," Susan continued. "And unlike other species you've conquered, we've had time to prepare. We've studied your weaknesses." "Drexians have no weaknesses," said one of the other aliens, speaking for the first time. "Everyone has weaknesses," Susan said. "Yours is that you believe you're invincible. You've never lost a battle, so you think you can't lose. That makes you careless." Krell moved closer to the force field. "What do you want, human? Why are we here instead of dead?" "Because I believe there's a better way than war," Susan said. "The Drexian Empire has conquered half the galaxy. But at what cost? How many civilizations have you destroyed? How many species have you wiped out? The strong rule the weak," Krell said. "That is the way of the universe." "It doesn't have to be," Susan countered. "Humans have learned that cooperation can be stronger than conquest. Different species working together can achieve more than one ruling over the others." Krell laughed. "Pretty words, but they won't stop. Our fleet when it comes." "Maybe not," Susan admitted, "but I'm hoping you might." This surprised the Drexian commander. "Me? How could I stop the fleet?" "By telling them the truth. That Earth isn't worth attacking. That we have defenses that could cost the Empire dearly. That there are better ways than war." Krell stared at her. "You want me to betray my empire? That would be treason." "I want you to save lives, both human and Drexian," Susan said. "Is that really treason?" Before Krell could answer, an alarm sounded. Susan's communicator beeped. "Admiral, we're detecting a spatial distortion," John's voice reported. "Something big is coming through hyperspace." Susan's heart sank. "The Drexian fleet? Already?" "No," John said. "It's something else. Something our sensors can't identify." Susan looked at Krell, who seemed just as confused. "I need to get to the bridge," she told him. "Think about what I said. This may be our last chance to avoid a war that will cost millions of lives." She hurried back to the bridge where the crew was watching the main screen with shocked expressions. In space before them, a massive hole seemed to be opening, glowing with strange energy. "What is it?" Susan asked. "Some kind of wormhole," John answered. "But it's not natural and it's not Drexian technology either." As they watched, a ship emerged from the wormhole. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, neither human nor Drexian design. It was enormous, dwarfing even the Defender, and seemed to be made of crystal and light. "We're being hailed," Ben reported, sounding shocked. "The signal is coming from that ship, but it's using Earth frequencies. How could they know those?" "Open a channel," Susan ordered. The screen changed to show the interior of the alien vessel. Standing there was a being that looked almost human, but with skin that shimmered like pearl and eyes that glowed with inner light. "Greetings, humans of the Defender," the being said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Lyra of the Galactic Alliance. We've been watching your encounter with the Drexians with great interest." Susan stared in amazement. "The Galactic Alliance? We've never heard of you." "We've kept ourselves hidden much as you hid from the Drexians," Lyra explained. "But now that you've revealed yourselves, it's time we did the same. Your species has proven itself worthy of contact." "By fighting the Drexians?" Susan asked. "No," Lyra said with a smile. "By offering them peace instead of destruction when you had the advantage. That showed wisdom we haven't seen in a long time." She looked around at the human crew. "You face a difficult challenge. The Drexian fleet is coming, and your world is in danger. We would like to help, if you'll allow it." Susan hardly knew what to say. In one day, humanity had gone from thinking they faced the Drexian Empire alone to meeting a completely new alien civilization. "Why would you help us?" she asked. "Because the galaxy needs balance," Lyra said. "The Drexians have upset that balance with their conquests. We believe your species might help restore it." She paused. "Will you come aboard our ship to discuss an alliance? You may bring Commander Krell as well. He should be part of this conversation." Susan looked at her crew, who nodded eagerly. "We accept your invitation, Ambassador." As she went to get Krell, Susan wondered what this would mean for Earth and for the galaxy. Things were happening faster than anyone had expected. But perhaps that was a good thing. Perhaps this was humanity's chance to make a difference. Beyond their own world, the game had changed completely, and it was just beginning. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 5, Susan stood in the transport room with Commander Krell beside her. The Drexian looked nervous, his 4 hands opening and closing. "You expect me to go with you to this alien ship?" he asked. "I think it's our best chance to avoid a war," Susan replied. "Don't you want to save Drexian lives as well as human ones?" Krell was quiet for a moment. "My duty is to the Empire." "And what if the Empire is making a mistake?" Susan asked. "What if there's a better path?" Before Krell could answer, the transport beam activated. Light surrounded them, and when it faded, they were standing in a large room aboard the Galactic Alliance ship. The walls seemed to be made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The air smelled fresh, like a forest after rain. Ambassador Lyra waited for them. Up close, she looked even more unusual. Her skin had a pearl-like shine, and her eyes changed color as she moved. "Welcome aboard the Harmony," she said. "Please, follow me." She led them through corridors where other aliens worked. Susan saw beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different. Floating clouds of light, tall plant-like creatures, small furry beings with 6 eyes. "You have many different species working together," Susan noted. "The Alliance includes over 300 species," Lyra explained. "Each brings unique skills and perspectives." "Impossible," Krell muttered. "Different species cannot work together effectively. The strong must lead, and the weak must follow." "That's what the Drexian Empire believes," Lyra said. "But the Alliance has proved otherwise. Together we've built something greater than any one species could alone." They entered a large room with a round table. Several other aliens sat waiting. Lyra introduced them, representatives from different worlds in the Alliance. Susan greeted each one while Krell stood stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. Please sit, Lyra said. We have much to discuss. As they sat, a three-dimensional image appeared above the table, showing the galaxy. Several areas glowed blue, while a large section glowed red. The blue areas show Alliance territory, Lyra explained. The red shows the Drexian Empire. As you can see, they control nearly half the galaxy. And what are the white areas? Susan asked, pointing to unmarked sections. Independent worlds or primitive species not yet ready for contact, Lyra said. Like Earth was until today. Krell studied the map. This cannot be accurate. The Empire has scouts throughout the galaxy. We would have detected your alliance. Just as you detected Earth's true technology? Lyra asked with a small smile. We have ways of hiding. We've been watching the Empire's expansion for centuries, helping worlds that wish to resist without revealing ourselves. Why reveal yourselves? Now? Susan asked. Because of you, Admiral Miller, Lyra said. Humans have shown remarkable potential. In a short time, you developed technology that can challenge the Drexians. And more importantly, when you had the advantage, you chose diplomacy over destruction. She looked at Krell. That's rare in our experience. A tall alien with green skin spoke next. The Drexian fleet is already on its way to Earth. They will arrive in 3 days. We don't have much time to decide what to do. Susan looked concerned. How many ships? 20 warships, the green alien said. Enough to destroy your planet. My people will fight, Susan said firmly. But we only have one ship like the Defender. We're building more, but they won't be ready in time. The Alliance could help defend Earth, Lyra offered. But that would mean open war with the Drexian Empire. Millions would die on both sides. There is another option, said a small bird-like alien. The Drexians might listen to one of their own. All eyes turned to Krell, who looked surprised. Me? The Empire would never listen to a junior commander who was captured. Not alone, Lyra agreed. But what if you returned with proof that the Drexian Empire is not the strongest force in the galaxy? What if you showed them that conquest is not the only path? They would call me a traitor, Krell said. Or a hero who saved countless Drexian lives, Susan suggested. Your people have conquered because they never met anyone stronger. Now they have. Wouldn't a wise leader choose a different path when the old one leads to destruction? Krell was quiet, thinking. Finally, he said, The Empire has existed for 1,000 years. Change will not come easily. Few important things do, Lyra said. But it must start somewhere. Why not with you? The discussion continued for hours. They planned and argued and worked together. Susan was impressed by the Alliance members. They were different from each other and from humans, yet they worked together smoothly. By the end, they had a plan. The Alliance would send ships to Earth to help defend it if needed. But first, they would try Krell's idea. 2 days later, the Drexian fleet arrived near Earth's orbit. 20 massive warships, each bigger than the Defender, moved into attack formation. On the flagship, General Vox stood on the bridge, looking at the blue planet on the screen. Begin the attack sequence, he ordered. Show these humans the price of defiance. Sir, his second-in-command said. We're receiving a transmission. It's Commander Krell. Vox looked surprised. Impossible. Krell's scout ship was destroyed. Nevertheless, it's him, sir. And he's not alone. The screen changed to show Krell standing on the bridge of a ship. Behind him were Susan Miller, Ambassador Lyra, and several other Alliance members. General Vox, Krell said formally. I bring important information for my mission. Explain yourself, Commander, Vox demanded. Why are you with these aliens? Because I've learned something that changes everything, Krell replied. The Drexian Empire is not the strongest power in the galaxy. The humans alone have technology that can match ours, and they have allies. The view on the screen widened to show space outside Krell's ship. There, surrounding the Drexian fleet, were hundreds of Alliance vessels that had appeared from hidden positions. They had been cloaked, invisible until now. Vox's yellow eyes widened. His sensors confirmed it. They were completely surrounded by ships more advanced than their own. "This is Ambassador Lyra of the Galactic Alliance," Lyra said, stepping forward. "We offer the Drexian Empire a choice. Continue on the path of conquest and face a war you cannot win, or join us as equals in an alliance that will benefit all." "The Empire does not surrender," Vox said, but his voice lacked conviction. "This isn't surrender," Susan said. "It's evolution. The Drexians have been the strongest for so long you've forgotten there are other kinds of strength. The strength that comes from cooperation, from diversity, from peace." Krell looked directly at his former commander. "I've seen it, General. Different species working together, creating things we never imagined. There is a better way than endless war." For a long moment, General Vox was silent. Then he looked at the hundreds of ships surrounding his fleet, at the determined faces of the Alliance members, at the single human who had started it all. "The High Council will need to discuss this proposal," he said finally. Susan smiled. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a beginning. Humans had changed the galaxy in ways no one expected, not by conquering, but by bringing together those who had been apart. As the Drexian fleet retreated and the Alliance ships moved into Earth orbit, Susan looked out at the stars. The universe was larger and more wonderful than humans had ever dreamed, and now they were part of it. The adventure was just beginning.